Judging is part of the AMCA Bulli weekend, and every year we have numerous bikes turning up for judging. We have our chief judge here, Mr. Pryde, and he's going to talk us through why this is such an important part of our weekend and the processes involved in judging all these fabulous motorcycles. Hand over to Ian.
Thanks very much, Anthony. Okay, so this year, unfortunately, we were unable to conduct judging in the normal fashion that what we would have in the field at Bulli, being it's a virtual meet. So what we've done is we've opened up invitations to people to submit their bikes and to have them entered for virtual judging. We first experimented with virtual judging with Don Zurich from the United States when he came out to Australia for the meet in 2018, where we trialled it and we had some expert judges from the United States have a look at a couple of bikes and virtually judged them. We've built upon that platform to the present point in time where we've introduced some protocols and strategies in how we judge motorcycles. So today we have a 1935 Harley Davidson model VD, or otherwise referred to as a VL Harley. The owner, Mr. Phil Fordham, is here. He's graciously entered his bike and allowed it to be judged virtually. Involved in the judging process today, I have Glenn Brooks on camera. I have Zach Kaneki-Smith over in Perth, Western Australia. He's a mark expert in these. I also have Mr. Don Zurich, the Chief Judge for the AMCA in Wisconsin, United States. Alex Bernhardt also has a number of Harley Davidson and Indy motorcycles located in Chicago in the United States. And I have the Executive Director of the AMCA, Mr. Keith Kaiser, who is also in the United States. Harry Irvin, one of our directors, is also involved in the judging process, and Harry was instrumental in putting together an Excel spreadsheet, which we're now looking at and trialling in the virtual world and hoping to move it into the real world in terms of when we can judge in the field using an Excel spreadsheet on a device in the field. And I have also Dave Bedding will be in the background. He's our secretary, doing some research in the background if we need to. So we will commence the judging process. All right, the first thing, Glenn, we need to look at is the engine number of this machine and verify it. So there's 25 points in which we go through. Can you read that out to us, please, Glenn? Yep. 1083. Very good, thank you. Righto, all good? Okay, as I said, there's 25 items in which we judge. It does get a little technical. This bike has previously been judged and has attained a Junior First Award, so it is now going for a Senior Award and must get 95 points and above to attain that award. So the first area is the frame and rear suspension. Now we've looked at that previously, and when it was judged last time, there was no issues with the frame and rear suspension. This is a rigid frame bike, there's no rear suspension as such, but just the frame section, the mountings, and where the bike goes through, the axle goes through in that area. No issues there. So we move on to the front fork, item 2. Last time, it was picked up that the fork springs should be parkerised. There's been no change. The fork springs are painted. The other thing that was picked up was the ride control should be dome nuts on the ride control. So I see that it's now had dome nuts placed in that location. Gentlemen, can you have a look at that and see if there's any comments in relation to that?
Looks good.
Does look good. Were they chrome?
Finish all right on those dome nuts.
Were they chrome?
They look like they're CAD.
I think they should be chrome.
I would agree they should be chrome.
Righto. And what we do for finishings and that, we have another item down the bottom where we add the various scores in relation to hardwares, plating, brightwork and paint. Okay, the next item is the front fender. There's a graze on the paintwork. That's been corrected, so there's no deduction for that. And valance blended to fender top.
I think it
That
was
too has
at the,
been corrected.
at the
It is.
front.
But
Ian,
this fender's been re-sprayed.
at the front on the right-hand side of the bike, where it was blended in. Can we have a look at the front side? To the other side, please, Dan. Yes. That looks a lot better. That is good. There was quite heavy Bondi work in there before. That's been fixed. That looks good.
Okay. The next thing is the front wheel. Unblasted stainless steel spokes should be CAD. There's no change. And run in rim paintwork has been corrected. So it still has the stainless steel spokes. And nipples are stainless.
The nipples are not the right configuration either.
They should be two-sided, not four.
The flat where the wrench goes should be a lot shorter. Those are actually reproduction stainless nipples. That's what you get from the company.
Are there B's on the heads of the spokes? Or have those been polished
No,
off?
they're Buchanan's.
Sometimes the Buchanan's leaves a B on there.
Yeah, see that, Lee?
Yeah, they are Buchanan's and the B's still on there.
Right.
Okay. The run in the rim paintwork has been corrected. We move on to item 5, handlebars, grips, controls and levers. And it says incorrect brake cable. Now that's been corrected. Can we just show the brake cable? Just slowly, Glenn.
And the oiler.
Okay, the other thing.
That's good.
The other one is an incorrect long style later headlight dim switch.
Still there. Don, do you think that's a late model lever in the dip switch?
Definitely, it's a reproduction because of the square, sharp corners.
And it's longer than
this point.
I note here too there's some damage to this handlebar.
Can you go back down by the brake connection where the cable connects to the wheel? That extra, the lone cable coming out of there, that should be trimmed back.
Okay.
Can we just go back to the switch and have a look at the screws?
Are those typically CAD plated?
Yes.
They look Parkerized. If you could pull the camera back a little, it's out of focus.
And I can see Alex, I can't see the switch on the main screen.
So what we're here, we're just going into a little bit of detail on some of the
finer points of the machine now.
Those screws should be CAD. The screws look like they're correct.
So we've got that. So we're going to move now into the item number 6, which is the engine. And it says here, firstly, cylinder fin repair poorly finished. Phil, are you able to point us towards that, where that fin's been repaired, please?
There.
That does look a lot better.
Happy with that, guys?
Yes.
While we're there, Zach, do those look like the correct washers on the head bolts?
They're a very thick flat washer.
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds.
I thought they should be a little thinner, but we shall see.
Yes.
Front.
They should be thinner.
That's the front one.
Yeah, they're too thick. Too thick and too large in diameter. Outside diameter is too large. The outside diameter should be close to the size of the head bolt.
Okay. Now, also on this is the narrow style earlier oil pump. It's on the other side. Oh, sorry. And it's also missing cover plate, overall pipe. Both are unchanged.
Right.
Okay, so righto.
Can we get a look at that front cover on the oil pump? I can see the brake pedal. From more side on if we can, just to see the thickness.
Is that where you want it, Zach?
No, I want to look at it from side on if we can. If Phil could move the brake pedal so I can get a look at it from side on to see the thickness of the in from there. Now back round to the side.
Side on.
Maybe a little bit above.
So Phil, how's it going? Does it look like you're going to pick up a few more points?
Well, I think I'm picking some up, but I think they're finding some other things that are a little bit of an issue. So that's nice to have the information so that I can correct that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of the whole process, isn't it?
That's the whole point of it, yes.
Now, how long have you had this bike for?
I bought this bike when I was 12, so theoretically I'm the second owner, but there was a guy in the middle who bought it from a deceased estate, and he held it for a week before I found it and bought it back. I used to see the bike in Kangaroo Valley on family holidays with a fellow who used to own a farm down there. At that stage it had a sidecar and a box on it, and he used to cart sheep and lambs and other things for the farm around. And then one year he didn't turn up. I asked at the shop where I used to see him, where he used to go and get his paper in the morning, what happened, and I heard that he'd passed away. And so the next day I went back to the shop and I said, well, what happened to his bike? Because the penny started to drop, and then they said, oh, well, it went to a farm. A guy bought it up at Fitzroy Falls, which was, if people in know Australia, it's up some 90-degree bends and hairpin bends and all that. So at 12 years old, I walked up,
So if that's the case, we'll move on
made
to the
myself known to the
transmission
farmer, and
kickstart pedal.
after he extracted as much money out of me as he could, I finished up with the bike. Yeah.
So without us being too rude about this, you got it at 12, so how many years does that mean that you've actually owned this motorcycle?
66. 56, sorry.
56, you've had this for 56 years now.
Yep.
Not only that, this has been your only motorcycle in those 56 years, up until very recently.
Until very recently, yeah, it's been my only motorcycle. It's a rider. It's never been a show bike. I've never really been interested in showing it.
That's correct, gentlemen.
Until the AMCA came along, and that particular type of showing or judging has interested me because it's more judging a bike on how it was, not competing against other bikes. So that's been the interest for me.
Yeah, what a fabulous story.
Right on.
Thanks, Phil.
No problem.
So Phil,
We'll move on to
Bit
item
nervous?
number 8.
Completely.
The carburetor intake and air cleaner.
we can say the world is
carburetor
judging
should
you.
be-
Because you think about it,
I'm aware that this has been-
Chicago,
Yes.
Wisconsin, Western Australia, the whole world's looking at this
So
bike
there's been
as
nickel
we
plating.
speak.
It's reassuring
Little
in
bit
some
of
ways to
wear on
know
the
that I've
nickel,
got
but
experts
that's
looking at it
certainly
because
nickel plated.
over here, we don't have as many experts in these particular models as
So that's
probably
been corrected.
they do over there. And any
And the
bit
air
of
cleaner
knowledge
should
is
be
great.
chromed, and it has been chromed.
Yep.
So that's
So
all
any
good.
anything I can glean
There's
from
no issues
the
in item 9
American
at the exhaust system, unless you gentlemen
input
would like
here
to
is
look at
is great.
something in the exhaust system.
Anything I can fix without going over the top, I'll rectify.
The muffler,
Things like the
yep.
spokes, I'm not really going to take the wheels apart again, just to change from to CAD spokes, because as I said, it's a rider. It's still a rider. It'll remain a rider, and it'll just that's the way
Yeah,
she'll
this
be.
this doesn't sit in a museum. This is a bike I've seen you riding many times. And of course, Don Dezurek, he came out here, didn't he?
This one?
The chief judge of AMC, has seen this
Yep.
machine in the flesh. He's now judging it. Obviously, you've done a few improvements. Let's hope you get
Hope there's enough.
that 95% that you need
Righto.
for this machine. Best of luck, Phil.
If not, we'll get it next year.
Good luck.
Thank
Well,
you.
let's look at the rear fender. Fender strut to chain guard, incorrect square nut, other side. So this is, I think we're looking here. Is that correct?
I believe the finish should be parkerized on that bracket.
Yeah, should be.
This is the bracket to the guard.
Yeah, the front one should be parkerized and the rear one should be body color of the fender.
Okay.
That's correct, yeah. I think the nut was in the inside of the strut or the brace.
Okay. No, the hex. No, the hexagon.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
And
think
they're,
they were the ones that were square last year. Is that
yeah, they're
correct?
cheese head screws and they're hexagon nuts. Righto, let's move on to the rear wheel. Again, we've got stainless steel spokes and nipples, and they're Buchanan's with the B on them. No change. Same as the front. Okay. Item number 12 is lights, wiring, electrics, and starter motor. Obviously, there's no starter motor. Modern style conduit on head stem wiring, which has been corrected. Yep. Yep. Okay. Down here.
Yeah, that's good.
Righto. Headlight lens and shell. No cycle ray identification. Corrected shell, lens unchanged. So that shell's been corrected, but the lens remains unchanged. So
Have a look at the script. That's good.
okay. Labels on dashboard wiring. Labels? Yep, that's okay. So that's all good? Okay. Righto. Item number 13 is oil tank and oil lines. There was nothing picked up last time, gentlemen. Is there anything you'd like to look at?
Ian, while we were on the gauges up there, those switch panels should be gloss black with a
Nickel.
highlight.
Yeah, no, they're obviously they're original and worn, and they just look like they're all brass.
And I would make a note: do not change them, but they should be black with the silver. But I wouldn't touch those either.
No.
Yep.
What finish is on the switch knobs?
Those should be nickel with cross hatching on the thumb part.
No, they're not.
No. No. Shouldn't have the cross hatching. It should be chrome. Cross hatching went out in 32, 33 roundabouts. And this is a 35, so it should be a smooth finish.
They're smooth finish, and they just look like, well, they actually look like die cast.
Yeah, but they should be chrome.
They're not chrome.
But like Don says, I wouldn't change them.
Nope.
Righto.
Can you show us the wiring down by the generator?
The tag. Here we go, Glenn.
The wires going to it, the harness.
Okay, we'll give you the tag first from this side, and we'll go around.
Okay.
Well, that's AMCA judging, folks. We'd like to thank Ian Pryde and his team, his global team from the United States, from across Australia, and we'll be back with more events at the AMCA Bulli Virtual 2020.